Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Working Conversations podcast, where we talk all things leadership, business communication, and trends in organizational life. I'm your host, Dr. Janel Anderson. Have you ever screwed something up, whether at work or in your personal life, and wished for a chance to get a do-over? A second chance to do something that your first attempt was unsuccessful at or unsatisfactory? I know I have. Too many times to count, in fact. Now, I don't like to live with regret, and I don't want you to live with regret either. So today, I want to encourage you to move past regret and take a chance on second chances. The day this episode is released, October 17th, is National Mulligan Day. In the game of golf, a mulligan is a chance to replay a stroke from the spot of a previous stroke without a penalty. Basically a do-over. Some will play a mulligan going back to the tee-off of the current hole, and others say it's okay to take a mulligan on any putt attempt between the tee-off and the hole. Now, it's important to know mulligans are only honored in friendly and fun games of golf. Professional golfers do not get mulligans. But you do. Not just in the game of golf, in the game of life. And if you don't happen to listen to this episode exactly on October 17th, National Mulligan Day, I'm giving you a mulligan to take your do-over whenever you want. Now, we may be inclined to think that we don't actually get second chances in life, but sometimes, in fact, many times, we do. Oprah Winfrey is noted for saying, quote, "If you're still breathing, you have a second chance," end quote. And if you're listening to this podcast, I'm pretty sure you're still breathing, so there are plenty of second chances available to you. We mere mortals do not get everything right the first time around, especially when we are trying something new, taking a risk, or working outside of our comfort zone. And that's why having a second chance at something is so important. All of us have made mistakes in our lives, and if there was never an opportunity to try again, we'd have no motivation to try new things really ever again. In fact, taking second chances reminds me of something that I tell my kids a lot, especially when they're trying something new. If it's worth doing, it's worth being bad at first. Sometimes we have to get creative on how we give ourselves second chances, because the actual circumstance of where you'd like a second chance might be something that isn't ever going to happen again. And that's where we need to think differently about the situation in order to find a second chance. Let me give you an example. 5 months ago, I had just completed a small business accelerator program. It was a 4-month program online, followed by a week in New York City in person. It included business owners from all across the United States in all different fields and disciplines. The week in New York was a chance to be in person with all of these other small business owners, new friends really, that I'd come to know so well over the 4 months online. Because of our shared experiences as entrepreneurs, I had bonded deeply with some of the other participants in this program, even if they were in very different businesses. And they are. One of them runs a welding company. One of them runs a retail store. One of them runs a healthcare operation, and one of them is a landscape architect. Well, I was so excited for this trip to New York to see them in person and, of course, finish the Business Accelerator program together. But alas, things don't always go as planned. 48 hours into the whole experience, after I had gotten a chance to meet these same people in person for a day or two, I tested positive for COVID. And I had to spend the rest of the week in my hotel room alone. I didn't get to go to the final classes, the final presentations, the graduation reception party, none of it. In short, I missed out badly. Now, as a quick aside, I will let you know I had a very mild case of COVID thanks to the vaccinations that I'd received. And I joked that my worst symptom was FOMO, or fear of missing out, because I wasn't getting a chance to spend the rest of the week with my entrepreneurial pals. So here's a particular set of circumstances that are never going to happen again. I'm never going to be at that event with those people doing the exact things that were planned for that week. Never. It was truly a one-of-a-kind moment. So, how do I get a do-over? Well, the entrepreneurs I just mentioned, the owner of the welding company, the retail store, the healthcare company, the landscape architect, I invited them to be part of a mastermind group, a group where we could put our collective thinking into action and help each other continue to grow our businesses. And now we meet once a month via Zoom, and we're kicking around the idea of getting together in person in the future. Basically, I invented my do-over because that set of circumstances was never going to come around again. So don't think that you don't get a do-over. You might just have to be creative and find another way to reach the same ends. So far, I've been talking about giving yourself a second chance at something. But let me remind you that you also get to give others the grace of a second chance. Think about the times in life when someone gave you a second chance. Maybe you screwed something up at work and you weren't fired or reprimanded. You got another chance. Maybe you behaved badly in a social situation and the other person or party host forgave you and invited you back another time. Or maybe in a personal relationship you were rude or mean or insensitive, and you're still friends with or even married to that person because they didn't give up on you and instead gave you the grace to have a do-over. Or maybe you were playing a round of golf with friends and they gave you a mulligan. In any case, you are never required to give another person a second chance. But when you do, it means a lot. And it says a lot about who you are as a human being when you can find it within yourself to give someone a second chance. When you give someone a second chance, it might give them a new perspective on their mistakes. They might come to understand you or their work in a new way and learn and grow as a result. Or maybe they will be inspired to give someone else, or maybe even themselves, or both, a second chance as well. Now, if the transgression was a big one, it may take some extra grace and forgiveness on your part in order to give the other person a second chance. But again, it really speaks to your character when you can find it within yourself to do so. As you go through the week, whether it's the week of October 17th and you're observing National Mulligan Day, or any other week of the year, remember not to be stingy with second chances. In fact, in the coming week, I want you to give yourself at least one mulligan. What is something that you tried or did that didn't work out as you had hoped or didn't work out as you had planned for? Allow yourself a do-over. Put it on the calendar. Make time for it. Commit to yourself to try again. In fact, it's the promises that we break to ourselves that hurt the worst. So give yourself a do-over. And I want you to give someone at work a mulligan. Whether it's a coworker who messed something up and lost your trust, or your boss that you're frustrated with about something, or someone who reports to you. Give them a second chance to get it right. And finally, this week, give someone in your personal life a mulligan. Maybe a friend or a neighbor or a family member who's done something wrong or screwed something up. See the humanity in what they did and find the space and grace to forgive them if you feel wronged by their past mistake, and give them a chance to try again. Perhaps the second chances that you take, and certainly the ones you give, will get you to the finish line on that goal that you have, or allow you to recover a love that you lost, whether it's a love of a hobby or a sport, or perhaps a person. Or maybe, just maybe, giving yourself a second chance will help you find a way to get back an opportunity that you missed out on, just in the very same way that I found a way to give myself a second chance to be connected with the people that I didn't get to be with in New York. I'll leave you with this thought from the American baseball great Pete Rose. He said, quote, "If someone is gracious enough to give me a second chance, I won't need a third." Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't give somebody a third or a fourth chance as well, but I think Pete Rose was onto something when he saw the opportunity of a second chance and really wanted to seize it. So give somebody a second chance. Give yourself a second chance. Give yourself a mulligan. And I'm going to give you permission to give yourself as many mulligans as you need. Until next time, my friends, be well.